Hey guys, welcome to One Up Crafts. I am Alex and you are watching part 3 of Bowser's Airship diorama. In part 2 I promised to add some sort of effect to the galleon figure, and I thought that Bowser really needed to throw flames. So I took an old vaporizer and extended the coil to be able to place it inside Bowser's mouth. The heat from the coil will then ignite flash cotton that is stuffed inside the tube. I also added some flickering LEDs to make it look like his hair and eyes were burning like in Bowser's Fury. Don't worry Bowser, I won't drill into your teeth. Just a bit into your brain. To get the LEDs to show through only in the hair and eyes, I painted everything else black before painting it grey. I wanted it to have more like a stone look. I also dry brushed it to make it look even more like stone. Let's see if the flamethrower works. It does. Mario will need a fireproof cap. Oh, look at this. Some of the 3D printed parts from the last video just exploded. Maybe I cured them wrong. Oh no! Even Gandalf exploded. Luckily he was still grey. I will surely come back in white on the first light of the 5th day. I just made the new prints solid, so I wouldn't have any more problems. I think the anchors from Mario 3 are the coolest, so I used them as a reference. After printing and curing them under UV light, all I had to do was attach them to a chain and carefully close it with pliers. And then slip off and break the anchor. Nothing that a drop of superglue wouldn't fix. Just don't get it onto your fingers. Why does it always stick best on your fingers? Now get off! There you go, Bowser. A new set of earrings for you. Okay, Bowser didn't want to wear them. And since the ship has no ears, we need something else to hang the chains on. The perfect hijack device for Mario. I bet there are also safety regulations when building an airship. And to prevent Bowser from falling off the deck, the ship also needs some railing. Hey Sammy. What are you eating? Always be careful not to drop crafting materials when your pets are running around. There's no evidence left. Just kidding, I gave her treats. For the railing I printed posts that looked like they were turned from wood. I want the ship to have some style for the king of Koopas. I had to put railings everywhere, so that Bowser wouldn't just fall out of the sky somewhere. No, Bowser, be careful! The back of the ship was still a bit empty, and instead of adding a second Bowser face, I thought it would be cool to add a small version of my stained glass Bowsette window from my previous video. When cutting out the new windows, I just had to be careful that nothing falls into the ship, cause I would never get it out again.
Bye bye!
On the other hand, it doesn't matter, because you'll never see it again. To diffuse the light, I put a piece of frosted acrylic glass between the window and the LEDs. I then placed the window inside a frame and glued it to the ship with hot glue. I made all the window frames out of XPS foam. What do you say, Sammy? That's a bad idea? As it turned out later, she was right. Even though the ship will never be put into the water, I sealed the gaps between the planks with acrylic paste and then smoothed them out with a modeling tool. Time to coat the ship with some mayonnaise. Somehow I'm getting an appetite for fries. Just kidding. Actually, this is also acrylic paste, and I do not recommend eating it. The LEDs are a little bit in the way. Let's pull them out. Oh. Gonna put some more mayonnaise on it. Nobody will notice. I covered the whole ship with acrylic paste to create a better base for painting and to be able to carve in textures later. To make the XPS strips look more like wood, I divided them into smaller planks and carved a wood grain into them. The wood grain is super easy, just carve in some lines that are not parallel to each other. It already looks a lot like wood, but it definitely lacks some color. I mixed brown with white and a bit yellow to get the right color tone. For the deck I added a little bit more yellow. And for the cabin I added red to the mix. I had to be careful not to paint over the parts that needed to stay white. After the paint was dry, I applied a sepia wash to bring out the wood grain more. Just a little bit dry brushing and it will look perfectly like wood. Or dirty? At this point I decided to completely repaint the ship. I just didn't like how it turned out. It looked rather dirty, so I painted it in a comic look and not too realistic. All the colors became a little brighter and more defined. Then I could start painting the details. The cannon flaps in a Bowser shell green. And the Bowser emblems in a Mario cap red. All the metal parts got a black base coat. And then a layer of silver. Use a good brand of paint. They usually contain more pigments and provide better coverage. I sprayed all the other loose parts with filler again to smooth out the layer lines. Again I used black paint as a primer on all the metal parts and then painted them with a silver layer, this time using an airbrush. I only painted the lanterns by hand to avoid spraying over the areas where I wanted the light to shine through. Since I wanted to shade all the metal parts and needed a lot of wash, I decided to make my own. I mixed 1 part ink, 2 parts pouring medium, and 8 parts of water. Then added a drop of dishwashing liquid and that's it. Be sure to fill it into a container that doesn't drip like mine. And now that I was able to produce more than enough wash, I changed my mind and gave the whole ship a new wash. Hopefully I won't have to repaint it again. I also hope you have some snacks while watching this video. A little pro tip if you want to wash vertically, just hold a heat gun against it and it will dry faster where you want it to go. Let's continue with the loose wood parts. I applied the brown color with an airbrush before I painted the metal details. I painted the windows of the doors white first and then used the blue glaze to create a kind of reflection. I shaded all the metal parts with the black wash I made and I'm so happy with the results. I really wasn't thrifty with it, After all, I have gallons of it now. After the shading, I used a dry brush to highlight the edges with a light silver. I added some scratches to the rotor edges, because I'm sure they've knocked some Marios out of the air here and there. Some Marios have also left their mark on the bumpers. A lot of one-up mushrooms must have been used here. For the windows I stuck to the original and painted them yellow. After a little wash with sepia, I added some accents to the edges. The cannons were also supposed to be yellow, but in the end they were a little bit too yellow for me. So I only left the tip of the cannon yellow and painted the rest in metal colors. I had to cut holes for the anchor chains. Is this the right place? Well, there's no turning back now. Just thread the chain in, shorten it, and attach the anchor again. But this time without destroying it. Phew. I glued the lanterns and all the other small parts on with hot glue. I really don't know how much hot glue I used on this ship, but it surely was a lot. The ship was pretty much finished at this point, but I had the great idea to give the windows a little bit more attention and detail. I applied some UV resin, cured it with the UV light, and then painted the silhouettes of the Koopalings to make it look like they were having a big party in the cabin. Unfortunately, acrylic paint doesn't mix well with resin, so I had to do it all over again. But this time with paper cutouts to keep the contours perfect. To make the windows look like windows again, I added a final coat of white resin.
Oh no!
I had to learn that resin doesn't seem to be compatible with XPS foam either. The foam has completely turned into chewing gum. At least I can use the windows as fancy fingernails. If you want me to do more fingernail tutorials, let me know in the comments. This time I'm printing the windows so they won't melt again. To keep the backlight from shining through, I had to prime the frames black again. And since you need about 1 million layers of yellow paint to cover it, I sprayed it on with an airbrush and masked the window area with masking paint. Carefully rub off the masking paint and a few residues without breaking anything. Well, just like I did. Who needs that anyway? I just used some frosted sheet as a replacement. I glued the stained glass window to the back and added some final highlights to the frame. Then I put the frosted glass and the LEDs behind it. turned out a little bit too bright, but I leave it as it is for now. The last detail for the ship is the nails in the bow, so that the ship doesn't fall apart when flying through thunderstorms. Thanks for helping me out, Bowser. Remember to always use the right tools. To test the nails, all we need is a real thunderstorm. I took some cotton and glued it together to look like a cloud. For the core of the cloud, I took an old plastic bottle and cut it to size. The inside of the bottle offers enough space for more electronics like LEDs and buttons. To make the buttons accessible, I used a wooden stick to hold the clouds in front of the ship, and a ton of hot glue to make it strong enough so that nothing would break off when the buttons are pressed. If you ever wondered how clouds hang in the sky, here's the answer. On wooden sticks, of course. I wrapped the wool around the old bottle and glued it with hot glue. I also filled the gaps with hot glue and pressed them together to hide the glue. It is best to use a tool instead of your hands, otherwise they will look like this later. When everything is dry, the cotton can be shaped a bit to make it look more lumpy.
You want these lumps? You gotta put a ring on it! Where's my ring?
All the electronics for which there was no room in the ship just go on the back panel. I added another Arduino for the lightning effect. 3 LED strips are connected and flash alternately, so that it looks like there is lightning in the clouds. Don't worry, Cloud, I will make you some little friends so you won't be alone anymore. The electronics should not be visible at all afterwards, which means a lot of cotton and even more hot glue. I added more cute little clouds for the rest of the lights and covered everything with more cotton. That looks very cozy. To write the code for the microcontroller, I need to get into programming mode. And just use some code I have already written before. The last thing I have to do is hang the ship up. Plug in all the connectors in the right order and hope that everything still works. Thank you so much for watching my video. If you enjoyed it, please give me a thumbs up. And also take a look at my other videos.